for this, we have a speaker who's going to be joining us. Mr. Joydeep Roy, India FS Advisory Leader, PwC. May I request you please put your hands together and welcome him up to the podium.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure, as always, to be in any ETH function. Over the years, these gatherings have not only been used for these sessions, but I'm sure the most valuable outcome is that people come together. And it's a great thing nowadays that we appreciate, because during these years between 20 to 22, they were all online with most of the windows shut off. So I think that this is what makes for discussion, enlightenment. And even before I go on to my topic, I think what we heard from Shankar in the previous session, I think that's a very comforting thought on one angle, that we can all sit at home and think about innovation, wait for the apple to drop. Lovely existence. I mean, if we really can get jobs done that way. However, I think as a race we are very gregarious, the human race, and most of the things really happen when we get together. Most of the meetings get energy when we are together looking into each other's eyes, and the energy rubs off, and hopefully semblance of that is going to stay. Okay, so I'm going to speak about largely Gen AI, and this is a topic which everybody is really talking about, from boardrooms to cafes to conferences. And every session, I'm sure in every session here you're hearing about impact of Gen AI and what it would do. In the financial services industry, this is an area of large interest from all angles, from increase of business productivity, management of risk which comes along with it, and the capabilities and capacities that it creates. So first of all, let me take a step back and try to explain to you what Gen AI is. Well, it is an artificial intelligence. All of us know that it's called generative artificial intelligence. It's a new name. Earlier we used to talk of AI ML. Gen AI is obviously a little more powerful. We all know that. Large language models we hear about, deep learning methods, a lot of predictions can be done. There is a recent movie which is called The Heart of Stone, where it talks about a molecular computer really being able to predict everything. Now, the whole issue about Gen AI is a little bit of that can we really turn knowledge into ability? There are human prompts which are used to make it human-like. But all that we all know, and if I go too much deep into this, neither can I understand what Gen AI is, and I'm sure nor can you. So let me explain to you in my own way. So imagine a human being who's read everything, almost everything. Even Gen AI will have its limitations. Imagine someone who's read up everything and retains everything and is able to associate everything. Associate one genre of things to another, one type to another, and has formed a full understanding. If there was such an oracle of Delphi, as in our Greek mythologies you have heard. And then think of that human who has also formed those rules of what is right, what is wrong, based on knowledge, based on the compendium of knowledge. What is bigger and smaller, higher, lower, front, back, larger, and the connections of, if this happens, then that will happen. If this doesn't happen, that will not happen. If this is something which is possible, then that human being should be able to answer most of your questions in a very summarized fashion, in a manner which is useful to you in a commercial sense, and be able to give you capabilities to run through your certain jobs faster, better, and cheaper. Almost like the Olympic motto, Citius, Altius, Fortius. So whatever happens, customer expectations of wanting things to be faster, better, and cheaper does not go away, and that is the journey which all companies find themselves in. So this will only do well if it aids in the human endeavor to make things faster, better could be quality, accuracy, more protected, more secure, and cheaper. So if that happens, then Gen AI is here to stay. If not, I'm sure 2-3 years later, you're going to hear about something else. Large language models, you hear a lot about LLM. Generative AIs work on large language models. Now, what is a large language model? Well, it has many things, but the one interesting and important thing is how it stores information, categorizes information so that things which are similar, they naturally gravitate together. So that tomorrow you want to search for a cat, and then you also know what dogs are. Because cats and dogs are two different pieces of knowledge picked up by the system at different points in time, but because of the some characteristics which bind them together, they come together, they become adjacent, they call adjacencies, and then when asked, how do cats, let's say, eat, it can also say, and by the way, dogs which are similar can also eat, they also eat these things or are not allowed to eat such things, and therefore it forms a more comprehensive view and understanding of the world. Today, as we have the avatar or the level of development of Gen AI, what can it do? It can do primarily two things, if you see. One is content creation or generation, and the other is actually understanding, reviewing, analyzing, and giving you a verdict. So then what is left? If it can create all content and it can analyze and give you a verdict, well, there's lots left in between, but it can generate code, it can program. It does a pretty good job of generating new code. It does a very decent job today, the levels it has reached, of drafting standardized documents and even make it personalized to your style. If it sees you correcting something, your tonality, understanding emotion and expression, and because of that, if this and that, the correlation it makes, that if this has to be empathetic, then yes, these things have to be changed. On content review, it can review and compare exceedingly well. It can review contracts, it can review codes, it can review knowledge, two pieces of, let's say, training programs and figure out what is which is better or for the purpose, or which is more efficient, and what all does this mean for business? Well, everything. Application of Gen AI can be across every aspect of business, but like everything else, as I said, some of these have gone ahead. And you heard some of the previous panels speak of bots and customer service bots, etc. But let's see a little bit more of what it can do. This is a conference in cyber tech, right? So cyber security is a very important area where it comes in, because it can, used well and implemented well, a Gen AI solution should be able to predict a cyber attack long before it has happened. Most of the cyber threats really happen when the disruptive cyber agent has entered a system and has not yet disturbed the system, and has not yet exited with what it wants to exit. So cyber threats are always like that. There's an entry, which sometimes take place 1 year, 2 years, 3 years before the actual incident takes place. But the disturbance it creates in that whole small ripple in the ocean is very difficult for humans and normal systems to find, which a Gen AI system should be able to spot. Secondly, and I'm going to just quickly go through this so that I don't bore you with things which are pretty obvious. It can, of course, look at contracts of deals, mergers, acquisition, identify legal clauses, understand the implication of that for compliance, risk, as well as legal anomalies or legal implications. For audit and accounting, and I'm going to speak a little more about that a little later, it can do a lot more than humans can, because it can scan through everything at once and figure out where things are not as they're supposed to be. Tax advice. See, tax and legal are two areas which are generally very knowledge-oriented and precedent-oriented. And therefore, Gen AI comes in absolutely as a natural fit, understanding what is the letter of the law, the spirit of the law, the actual incidences, the actual judgments, the precedences, and can give a pretty much decent verdict. Does that mean these professions will cease to exist? I'm sure we, as inventive as we are as a human race, we'll always find value-added things to do. People talk about, employment. Well, when computers came in 1980s, everyone thought that a lot of people lose their jobs, but we know it has been the biggest employment generator for India, and other than India, everywhere else. But something which will be very surprising today is when electricity came in, people actually went on strike in banks in India. Electricity. Can you imagine what for? Because the pankha pullers would lose their jobs. Because there were people who used to pull those big fans in the branches. Yes, maybe some did, maybe some didn't. Maybe they found value-added jobs. Well, if you think about, and now narrow it down to absolute financial services, well, sales and marketing, we have always seen something called next best product, or people like you. These have been two buzzwords in kind of you can say, analytics-based, data-driven, analytics-based, machine learning-based, going on to AI-led marketing campaigns. These can achieve near perfection through Gen AI, when it should be able to predict and therefore point out what is the real product that a customer is actually screaming out for but not talking. Because of the other things that they're buying, they're searching, the movies that they're watching, the things they're aspiring for, their family, their habits, spending, and then really form a very fuzzy but very clear image of the customer as to what brand, what kind of product they really want next. I've talked about risk management, which is very, very important and always merits multiplier effect on any kind of mention of AI, because risk management comes into the double-edged sword when you use AI. One is that you have to use it properly to manage your other risks, the financial risk, the credit risk, the underwriting risk, or all of the risks. And finally, also manage the AI risk. In the sense, your tool, the AI tool that you're using, the implementation they're doing, if it is not properly done, then naturally you will get anomalous results, which will lead to further risks rather than lowering of risks. Customer operation, you heard Anup speak about it a little in the previous panel. Yes, bots are becoming human-like, and they will react human-like. They will be able to also understand emotions and accordingly change their tonality, not be like a machine robot-like. But the biggest advantage is coming in empowering the human customer service people who are of different education, background, ability, competence, empathy, to come to one level of being assisted by a Gen AI bot. So instead of always exposing the Gen AI bot to the customer, they can act as fantastic assistants to each customer service human being, who will then always give out complete information, full information, correct information, and in a manner which the bot can nudge and push them to be, in a persuasive manner or in a defensive manner or in a apologetic manner or in a very cheerful manner. All those can be managed by the bot to the service agent to enact, making the human-to-human interaction more enriching and more productive. Human resource, of course, all of us know that they can sort through CVs, they can match job descriptions, they can even create job descriptions and match CVs to that. And by the way, today already there are companies which are where the first level interviews are being conducted by a Gen AI bot, which can also which can figure out hesitation, ability, the certain confidence levels, everything other than just the correctness of the answer or the what the person has been doing. Well, engineering side, definitely there'll be a lot of applications. Lastly, some breakaway advantages. I'd just like to highlight a few. I've been doing that while talking anyway, but still. So imagine that I talked about that them helping and aiding a human service agent, but what if there's a handoff? Today, the handoffs from a bot to a human agent is binary. After some time, if the bot cannot answer, say, okay, I'm transferring to a service agent. And the service agent starts all over again. Imagine a bot which is talking to you and encountering a very complex situation. Oh, say the transaction made, lost in cyberspace, which you heard last on stage, and it's not a standard problem. The bot doesn't really know, and it calls in, okay, here is Vikas, who's a human, by the way. And Vikas, this is what has happened to the client. What do you say? Vikas says what Vikas has to say. And then the bot picks up the next level of service. 5 emails have already gone internally and says, thank you, Vikas, and continues with the customer. And Vikas is free to attend to another customer. So man plus machine, and by man I mean gender neutral man, because nowadays I think that's the terminology I was just discussing before the meeting. I think the man-machine combo is more likely to become a standard of the heightened use of AI and Gen AI, rather than thinking of only bots and AI or thinking of only humans. Contracts and audit and regulatory AI studio kind of situation, if you think, where the whole thing is to understand how regulatory lines have to be maintained. Regulations are becoming stricter and stronger. The Data Privacy Act is one such example, but there have been many such, and there are going to be many such, especially in the financial services industry. These are sets of lines which, unlike the roads, those white lines on the roads, here you can't cross. But how do you know? In a large organization with massive retail as well as transactional whole environment, you are never sure. But with Gen AI, you can. It can work real time, and with computing power increasing, latency going down with 5G. See, things only happen. Finally, things happen when all things come in together. The smartphone only happened when the screen technology, the battery technology, the chip cooling technology, all came together. Otherwise, it would have remained just a cute innovation. So anything gains momentum when all of these things come together. And therefore, today, if you think of this low latency network, higher computing power, real-time aiding of managing to keep the car as a metaphor of the organization within the lines, that's what Gen AI can achieve. Of course, it can generate contracts. It can compare contracts. It can find anomaly between previous and new contracts. It can even find the explanation of the anomaly. So, for example, a contract done 3 years back with one of your partners, and if it's being renewed in December this year, it will look different because of the Data Protection Act. So there's bound to be an anomaly. But the anomaly is explained by the exterior knowledge which Gen AI brings in, saying this is a necessary amendment. And so you don't have to then worry about it at all. Finally, HR. Everything to do with humans, and by the way, this extends to the medical world, extends to the many other worlds where interaction with humans, making HR queries and managing people's HR interface is extremely important. Split down to the subsectors, well, portfolio strategy for individuals, hyper-personalized, investment decisions in asset wealth management, underwriting in insurance, making very personalized ones, whole sales, I talked about the next best product and really understanding customer, quotations, personalized quotations for every human. Why do you have to ask so many questions? If all of us if there's no private life left, if all of us are in the public, then why do the sellers need to ask so many questions before even quoting for our car insurance? Then security, the account and data, full financial planning, and finally, all kinds of asset strategy and transference strategy and will and property and everything can be dealt with very effectively with Gen AI today already. And I'm sure these models are going to get better and better. But as I said earlier, unless they are always consistently faster, cheaper, and better, new models will come and go past. Thank you very much. With that, I hope you're enjoying the sessions and will enjoy the further sessions ahead. Thank you very, very much.